Hello, everyone. Now you will hear a short retelling of the movie Outpost. The tape is based on real events in 2006. The U.S. Army deployed a number of outposts in the north of Afghanistan to fight the Taliban and cut off the supply of weapons from Pakistan. Outpost Keating was located in a remote valley and surrounded on all sides by mountains. Because of this, for the soldiers' base was a death trap. Arriving reinforcements are asked to. The Taliban constantly attack the outpost and have no trouble leaving it. Morning and the soldiers begin to come under fire from assault rifles and PGs. The Americans return fire from mortars and machine guns. If only Salaga hadn't gotten confused and brought the right ammunition. The mortarman hit the target. The enemy was destroyed after the battle. Sergeant Martin punched one soldier for shooting right over his head, and Carter just now got the ammo he needed and got for arguing during the battle. And it turned out everyone got excited too soon. One of the soldiers got his face blown off by shrapnel. Captain Keating is reprimanding Faulkner for dabbling in illegal substances. There's only 54 of them, and they have to be sure of everyone. Faulkner received a final warning and was demoted to private. The Americans want to establish relations with the local population, so they're going to meet with Afghan the elders. They're going to bring in the youth. Yeah, the bastards who are shooting at us, to inspire trust among the locals. The captain took off his body armor and helmet. The elders don't understand what the military wants them to do. It's been like this here for 40 years. It was the Russians, and we're Americans. Americans. Many in attendance participated in the recent attack. Keating suggested that the Afghans to lay down their arms, then the population would get money from the US for construction and various projects. Otherwise, they would die. In a bad way. The old man nodded to the young men, and they laid down their AKs in front of the captain. It seems that the Americans' terms were accepted, but the next day the outpost was again. The next day the outpost was shelled again. Younger stole a picture of the sergeant's wife, and now has to apologize for showing her his wiener. She's Mrs. Hart. I'm sorry. Mrs. Hart. Command has been given a mission to deliver the truck to another base because the roads are more dangerous than the Taliban and fly off a cliff into the abyss. Captain Keating wanted to get behind the wheel driving the truck. There was movement ahead. Carter and Clint went to check it out. It was just a chicken, but while they were walking around, the ground beneath the truck crumbled and it fell off a cliff and exploded. Oh, and there was a Keating in the cab, and the captain died of his wounds. The guys fired a few shots rifles, honored the commander's memory, and returned to duty. Captain Les was appointed commander. Found out there wasn't even a refrigerator for storing blood. If someone needs a transfusion, and the only thing that saves them mortars are the only thing that can reach the ridge. The new captain was greeted by the Afghans. He immediately sent his subordinates out to patrol the area only now. Clune fully realized that the Taliban had them. The Taliban have them in the palm of their hands every time there's a bombardment. They're studying us. They're coming for us. If he were the enemy, the first thing Clune would do would be to destroy the mortar emplacement, then the armored vehicles in the warehouse, and finish by blowing up the generators so they couldn't call the radio for backup, and then send in the fighters to take over the camp. Somebody took a shit on your soul? Sorry, man. That's right. Outpost Keating and how to stop them. Sergeant Kirk noticed a local resident was taking pictures of their base with. They caught up with him. He was restrained and interrogated. It was an old man who gave the guy money to take pictures of the camp. Els is gonna to keep him in custody and investigate. The elders aren't happy. They haven't been given the money yet, and they're already kidnapping kids, but Ellis showed the contracts to build schools and assured the council that he wants peace. Half of the Afghans from the last council are not here capable of fighting. The Griffin advised the captain not to piss off the elders. When they're happy, the shelling is much less often. Muhammad, the translator, stated that the Taliban were on their way here in large armies, but the Americans laughed him off. You know, why we don't believe you? Why do you say the same thing? You say the same thing every week, and you're whining about how they're surrounded by the Taliban. They're being attacked every day. Anyway, Muhammad's words. Muhammad's words were not taken seriously. During a patrol, the soldiers had to cross the river on a suspension bridge. Along with the commander's body, as soon as the new Captain Brewer, he announced that the outpost would be closed in July, would be shut down in July. His subordinates showed him the Afghan ID card they found at the bridge. Apparently this is their bomber. He must be found and captured. But Broward has forbidden unauthorized population during another bombing raid on the Broward house. Again, there was a problem. He refused to give the order to fire mortars until the soldiers can clearly see the gunmen with their weapons. There is a risk that civilian casualties. You must fix the weapon or radio in the hands of the enemy through measured aggression, scares the locals, and puts us at risk immediately. Clint learned that the current president of Afghanistan has asked for this outpost to remain this outpost until after the election. So it won't be shut down for a while. Only peas in bottles and makes the enlisted men to dump them in the waste pit. Carter suspects he's just scared, he's afraid to go outside even when he's taking a shit. Takes his escort. I carry him every day, his sake into the waste pit. He's even been, they call him Kuhn, Lieutenant Banderman. Told me that before Keating and Lass, two more captains died on this far post. So Brower, yes, it's understandable that soon the Taliban got a mortar, and since the shelling was being fired at night, so the Broward ordered night vision, Broward ordered a white phosphorus response. With phosphorus, and the next day the elders came to the post. The daughter of an Afghan man's daughter was killed by white phosphorus. It's not our job. The girl's been dead a long time. The body stinks badly. The sergeant realizes they're being framed. And then there's this. A military dog bites an elder. It's not a dog bite isn't easy in our culture. They're trying to reimburse us for the dog bite. The Broward shot the dog and reprimanded Private Cruz for handling. After a while, the cowardly captain announced that he'd been removed from his post and that the outpost would close on October 6th. Captain Ports will be coming here, but in the meantime, Lieutenant Bander will be in charge. They wouldn't have appointed Ports if the situation wasn't serious. He's right. That's right. It's October 3rd before the outpost closes. 3 days left. At dawn, Muhammad came running and started shouting that the Taliban army is already here. All the villagers have left the village, but the Afghan says this every week. So even now, no one took his words seriously. However, all you had to do to look through binoculars and see that hundreds of people were descending down the slopes of the mountain. Hundreds of armed men, all who were still asleep, woke up to the sound of mortar fire. Under the Taliban's machine gunner, his life, saved by a sturdy helmet that protected his head from the bullets. It's important to get to the mortars. The Americans are under heavy with machine guns. Sergeant Thompson was wounded, and his comrade tried to pull him to safety, but a few more explosions sent him. All the Afghan soldiers immediately fled. Some of the fighters managed to get to the machine gun in the Humvee, but the ammunition soon ran out of ammo. This time Carter had better not make a mistake and get the right ones. Kirk grabbed the grenade launcher, but before it could be fired, he was knocked over by an explosion and a bullet hit him in the head. A medic with a stretcher ran across the base to help him, with his wife and daughter waiting for him at home. And now, he's got to get the ammo to the Humvee. As soon as he ran out of the room, he's shot in the head and there's nothing he can do to help him because of the bad weather. The Apaches won't arrive for another 40 minutes. The machine gun on one of the Humvees exploded and went out of action. To the armored car with a bunch of ammo, and he almost got caught in the blast a few times. So the guy wasn't happy to find out that the machine gun wasn't working anymore, and a lot of the men trapped inside the armored car. Clean tried to cover them and secure their retreat. But after taking a hit from an RPG, he was wounded in the arm and the machine gun was. The sergeant went back to headquarters, found out that Kirk had passed away, and the infirmary is full of wounds. The rest of the men are still in danger. The sniper who killed the cousin Klein grabbed the rifle. A rifle found the sniper and killed him. The three fighters tried to get him out, their comrades, by driving up in another Humvee, but at some point the car hit an obstacle and couldn't move any further. And now they had to get, but by that point, the Taliban had already infiltrated the base. The two men had to run, while the third one was covering them with a machine gun. But things didn't go according to plan. The Taliban thought they'd already won, so Clint punished the three overconfident bearded men. The lieutenant was going to command a retreat, but Clint wants to retake the base, or the trapped fighters will die. Tried to save themselves, they jumped out of the vehicle and were immediately covered in a barrage of fire. Gallegos dragged his wounded comrade around the corner to a safe, but there the Taliban was waiting for them. The two survivors had to go back to the car. Clint recruited volunteers to retake the camp and then move forward. Wounded Mace is crawling on the ground near the car. On the ground near the car, he's in cover, but Carter's worried that the private will bleed to death. Clint and his squad has made it to the first Humvee. The Taliban are already walking around the base like they're at home. Back home, Carter manages to convince Lars to help the wounded Maze, and he began to cover him. Carter bandaged his wounded leg, picked up the fighter in his arms and carried him to the car. Clint saw that a whole bunch of Taliban were coming down the mountain. Toward them. Fired his underbarrel with a grenade launcher, and the damage done was far more than the sergeant had anticipated. It was actually the Apaches that came over here, who with a couple of rounds blew the crowd away. The wounded Maze was already losing consciousness from the blood loss. Carter realized he had to act, so he ran out to reconnoiter, and when he got back, they were already being contacted. Lieutenant Banderman is on his way over here. There's a bomber that's gonna fly in here soon to clean it up, so these three need to get out and hide in the sanitarium. The wounded man, Maze, was put on a stretcher and carried to the Ace safe house at the same time the bombing started. The bombing Carter did everything he could to save his comrade in arms, and after running to the infirmary, exhausted and collapsed to the floor. Mace is on the brink, and it's unknown if he'll survive. A short time later, Captain Portis landed near the base. Captain Portis and his special forces. He saw the destroyed outpost and the backs of fleeing Taliban and Apache warriors flew in to finish them off. Are circling the base to find the fighters, but they found a terrified Muhammad in the bathroom. Muhammad's body was found by late afternoon. 7 dead, 27 wounded, of which 12 are in serious condition. What of the equipment we're taking out? SR, nothing tomorrow will wipe the face of the earth from this fucking hole. At night, the wives came to the base. Of the dead Afghan soldiers came to the base at night. A wrecker came to the base to pick up all the Mazu's blood was transfused to the wounded. Of several soldiers to get him to the operating room, Carter saw him off and wished him luck the next day. The helicopters took the rest of the soldiers too. They were told that ICE had died after all. The Keating outpost was destroyed in front of them. After the experience, Carter needed psychological help more than anyone. Do you remember what happened during Kate's only thought during the fight was that he couldn't sleep? He couldn't get a single word out, and he became hysterical after the battle for Kamdesh. It was decided to close all outposts unfit for defense.